Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to prepare your Fixflo site for Easter. My name's Jessica, and I'm going to be going through the webinar with you this morning. Just to let you know, it will take us about 45 minutes odd to get through today's webinar. That does depend, however, on questions. And I will, of course, be sending you all a recording by the end of play today. So the whole thing is being recorded. And just in case any sections go slightly too fast or anything like that, of course, you can always rewatch it. Just to go through the agenda, so you can see it here on the screen in front of you. First of all, we're going to be going through kind of how you can edit some of your content. So we're going to be starting off with the welcome message, which is what occupiers see when they're on Fixflo and how you can amend this. Then we're going to be going through some of the guidance and advice pop-ups as well. So how you can add, for example, emergency numbers and change those pop-ups. After that, we're going to be going through Copilot, where we'll start with how you can add rules onto Copilot. Then we're going to be going through what happens if a rule is triggered. And finally, the order of your Copilot rules. Guys, if you have any questions at all during this webinar, please do get them over to me. There is a Q&A button, which is available on your Zoom bar. So simply click there and ask your questions. Just to keep us on track today, I will be answering all questions at the end of the webinar, but I'd be really happy to see you engage and ask questions. Before we get started, there is just a quick poll that I wanted to launch. Fantastic, guys. Thank you to everybody who's answered that poll. I'm going to leave that open just for a few more seconds because I'm going to launch another poll in a moment about Fixflo Academy. So you should be able to see some information here on my screen about Fixflo Academy. So just to let you know, Fixflo Academy is a clear training platform which features on-demand videos. It has a live webinar, which is separate from this. It's like an introduction to Fixflo webinar. It has downloadable takeaway slides, quizzes, and also you will receive a certificate upon each course completion. It is there to help you and your team learn all about Fixflo, and currently this is available for our lettings clients only. So unfortunately, this is not available for block or build to rent clients just at the moment. We have different courses available. Some are shorter than others. So we have our kind of introduction course, which is fantastic if you have any new starters on Fixflo, or whether you think actually you need to kind of go through all of the introduction stuff yourself. We have a fantastic planned maintenance course as well, which is an hour and a half. And also we have some short courses available as well. The short courses, there are more actually than just promotion. I do apologize. We have one on how you can promote Fixflo to your occupiers, which is the promotion course. It's half an hour. We have another one on agent and team assignment, allowing you to better streamline your processes. Again, that's half an hour. And the final short course that we launched last week is actually about contractors. So how your contractors use Fixflo. Slightly longer there, it's about 45 minutes, but it will go through exactly how your contractors use Fixflo. It talks about the app and invoicing and all these exciting things. So this is a really, really good way for you to learn. Like I say, for new users, they should go on the introduction course. But if you've been with Fixflo a while, but you want to kind of, I don't know, cherry pick your training, then the short courses are absolutely brilliant for that. I can see that most of you are, in fact, already signed up, which is brilliant to see. A few of you would like to sign up. I will, of course, send you all a separate email by the end of play today on how you can sign up. It's all self-service and it's completely free of charge. So I will reach out to you all by the end of play today. Thank you again to everybody who answered that second poll. Okay, we are now going to move on to the webinar itself, and we're going to start off with how you can amend your welcome message. So the welcome message is exactly what occupiers see when they log in to Fixflo, or when they, go on to Fixflo to report a maintenance issue. It sits, so if I just log out here quickly, This is what the occupier sees here. So when they go onto Fixflo to report an issue, it just sits here underneath your logo. So obviously Fixflo is white labeled. They'll see your logo here and color scheme, but this is the welcome message, which they can view. And of course, you can amend this as well. Just to show you how you would amend this. So of course you'll need to log into Fixflo, and this can be only done by administrator users, guys. Okay, so you must be an administrator user in order to access this setup section here on your left-hand menu sidebar. From here, you will click here on Content Edit. And this is where you can make the change. You'll want to stay within the content tab just here at the top. And if you scroll to the very, very bottom of this page, you can see here it says text issue welcome. If you click here, this is what the welcome message shows. So of course you can amend this. So for example, over Easter, you might want to let your occupiers know when your opening hours are, or something like that, just to give them a bit of a heads up, perhaps, that you guys are, of course, taking that well-deserved break as well, but they can still report maintenance issues through to you. You might want to give out an emergency number here, something like that. So this is a really brilliant way for you to kind of provide that message to your occupiers. So again, administrator users can do this. It's within Content Edit, and it's right at the bottom of these options. Now, obviously, this is something that an occupier could bypass. They could miss this. So I just want to mention to you as well that just before an occupier submits a report, there are two potential pop-ups they will see. One, they will see if they do want to be present when the works are carried out, and the other, they'll see if they do not want to be present when the works are carried out. These two pop-ups do vary. You can amend them as well. Obviously, an occupier will need to kind of press OK on that. So it is something they're less likely to bypass, if you like. So just to show you how you could amend those pop-ups if you really wanted to get a message across to your occupiers, especially during the Easter period. You have got here at the bottom, text issue confirm submission. So this is the message they see if they do not want to be present. So you can amend this. And of course, any changes you might make, you must press save. And the other one is, again, within Content Edit, scrolling to the bottom once again, it's message to occupier missed call out charge. And this is if they would like to be present. This is a really kind of common, well, this is in fact the default, but this is common to let your occupiers know if they want to be present when the works are carried out. There may be a missed call out charge if they're not there when they say that they will be. And again, if you wanted to get a message across, this would be another brilliant way to do it. So whichever pop-up they see, they will see that message. Okay, brilliant. So that's kind of the welcome message bit done. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to your other kind of fault tree pop-ups. So when occupiers are reporting maintenance issues, there are pop-ups within the system that they see. Now, these are absolutely brilliant as they will help with both, first-time fixes, for example, boiler issues, where it might be something where actually you can give them a list of suggestions where they might say, actually, yes, I will be able to fix my boiler by doing one of these, and also help to filter out maintenance issues that shouldn't come through to you, such as mildew in the bathroom, batteries and smoke alarms, or perhaps light bulbs and light fittings. These are all occupier responsibilities. Now, you can amend these pop-ups and add ones where we don't have them. And again, this can be brilliant for example, Easter bank holiday and the other kind of Jubilee bank holiday that we have coming up, I believe, at the beginning of June. So first of all, you can add emergency numbers to these pop-ups. Now, we actually have a survey that goes out to occupiers when they report maintenance issues. And one of their really, really big frustrations is that they find it really annoying when there are no emergency numbers which are included for them. So if this is something you want to give your occupiers, again, within setup and content edit, just here we have agent telephone numbers within this content tab. If you click here, this is where you can add all of your kind of out of hours numbers, emergency numbers, if you're happy for occupiers to have these, where they might want to contact somebody, especially outside of kind of office hours. So if you want to add them here, and again, press save. And then in order to add those to your pop-ups, you can click here on fault tree pop-ups. And this is where you can see all of the existing fault tree pop-ups that you have set up on your occupier side of Fixflo. For example, if I go to the boiler one here, you can see the pop-up. You can amend the pop-up here as well. So you can add things like pictures, GIFs, videos as well. Videos can be really, really helpful if you wanted to talk through, for example, how to increase the pressure on your boiler. That's always brilliant to add. So you can add all of those. And then all you need to do is if you wanted to add those numbers to this particular pop-up, you just need to add the token. So tokens sit here on the right-hand side. Office hours, okay, in these kind of squared brackets. So you can add that just there in order for those out of hour emergency numbers that you've put into the telephone numbers section to add to that pop-up, and they will then display for the occupier. Obviously, if there's anything specific for example, boilers, you would need to add that number specifically to this pop-up. But I just wanted to show you that as well. Like I say, it really is a frustration of occupiers. So it might be something that you look to do. I hope that all makes sense, guys. Remember, the Q&A button is available on your Zoom bar. Just click on it, ask any questions. And again, just to keep us on track today, I will answer them at the end. But I hope that makes sense in terms of the welcome message and kind of getting that message out to your occupiers. Also, how you can add kind of emergency numbers and how you can change the existing pop-ups that you have on Fixflo. Finally, you can also add pop-ups where we do not have them. So just to show you where that would be is, again, you would need to be an administrator user for this because you'll be clicking here on setup. You'll be going here to fault tree edit. And from here, you've got all of your fault categories that occupiers can see. So it's like a mini version of the occupier side, and it sits just here on the right-hand side. So here you can see all of the categories they can see. And just to show you, or just to go through this in some more detail, if there's anything you do not want occupiers to see and you wanted to make your system slightly more minimalistic, you could, of course, click on that. For example, here, swimming pool, and you can hide that category icon. So say, for example, you have no swimming pools at any of the properties you manage, you could easily just hide that category icon just to make it slightly more simplistic. Also, you can go further than that and keep swimming pool and, for example, remove the subcategory spa by hiding that category icon. So you do have those options to remove and add icons. You can only add what is obviously available to you. You can't, unfortunately, add your own categories. But if there's anything that you feel is missing, please get in touch with us, support@fixflo.com, or simply reach out to us via this need help button, and we can forward that over to our development team if anything is particularly missing here on the fault categories. Adding pop-ups where we do not have them. Again, like I say, pop-ups are very, very beneficial to both you and the occupier to help filter out maintenance issues that shouldn't come through to you, and also to help with first-time fixes. So say there's something that's missing, for example, mice. If someone finds like a mouse in their kitchen, you could click here, for example, on pests and vermin. You could click on rodents. So you want to kind of drill down as far as an occupier could go to mice, where they would actually see the pop-up. You can see the current pop-up here. So the default is currently none. And what you could do is you could either add a whole new pop-up. So for example, if you find a mouse in your kitchen, please make sure, you know, you're cleaning up every single day. You're not leaving food out, you're emptying bins, perhaps find a humane mouse trap to kind of catch the mouse and set it free somewhere, something like that. You could add a pop-up here by clicking on add new, and also you can copy over one from another. So if you had one, for example, for mice, you might want to copy that over as well for rats or other rodents. So that can be really, really brilliant. And again, it can be super effective. So I just thought I'd show you how you can also add pop-ups where we do not have them. And hopefully that's been helpful, always particularly helpful, again, when you guys deserve that well-deserved break. Fantastic, guys. We're now going to be moving on to Copilot, which is a super exciting feature. I'm really excited to show you guys. From the poll, a lot of you feel like your understanding's not quite there. So hopefully the next kind of half an hour of the webinar will really, really help you. And again, do get your questions across in the Q&A button. The first thing I want to mention about Copilot is a bit of a negative, I suppose. It's just regarding AXA. If you already have an AXA account, then or if you already have set up kind of between Fixflo and AXA so that AXA can manage works, absolutely brilliant. You can still be using AXA, but unfortunately, we are unable to onboard anybody who has not already configured AXA on their account to get onto AXA. This is an unprecedented situation as it's due to kind of resourcing with staff and materials on their end. So this is a decision that AXA have made. They want to ensure that they can cope with the current demand and meet their SLAs. So unfortunately, if you have not configured AXA yet, it's not something you'll be able to do. But if you have, you can continue to use AXA. I do apologize for any inconvenience to anyone who wanted to use AXA, but unfortunately, they just can't reach their demand. So in order for them to keep their current customers happy, they've had to kind of withdraw on that for now. But again, if you have got AXA configured, you can continue to use that service. Okay, so let's start with a quick introduction to Copilot. So Copilot is an automated works assistant, and it can help you set up parameters to basically say, when X happens, you would like Y to automate. So it's an automated works assistant, as I said before. It's super duper exciting. It's brilliant for bank holidays because obviously maintenance issues aren't going to stop just because it's Easter or the Queen Jubilee. Doesn't mean everything's just going to go smooth sailing, as I'm sure you guys know. So you want to make sure that your occupiers are still happy during this time and things are still getting attended. So you could, for example, set up a rule to say, if somebody reports an emergency, such as a boiler issue, you want to automatically assign it to this certain contractor. It's absolutely fantastic. Benefits of using Copilot. So it will save you and your team time by automating works onto a contractor. So this doesn't just have to be used during bank holidays. You could technically use it all the time. So even if today, I don't know, this afternoon at 2:30, somebody reported an issue and you know you're going to send it to a certain plumber, you could automate that, meaning that you guys can get on with other works. It also keeps your occupiers protected during out of hours by automating works on during these times. And finally, you can also use it to notify users, such as landlords or occupiers, about certain issues as well. So there's lots that you can do with Copilot. I hope that you're understanding this is a way to automate. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to how you can set up your rules on Copilot. So again, guys, you've got that Q&A button. So any confusion, just jump on there. Copilot sits here and it's at the bottom left-hand corner of your Fixflo left-hand menu sidebar. So if I click here, it will take you through to this screen. Now, this is the screen you will see if you do not have Copilot rules set up. If you do, you will see the rules listed here. So as soon as we've got some rules, you will be able to see those. So what we're going to start by doing is adding a rule. So you either add a rule by clicking here in the top kind of left-hand corner of this screen, or alternatively, you can click here. It doesn't matter. Either will work fine. And as you can see, we do have some templates here, which you can, of course, play with. For now, though, I'm going to add an empty rule. And it will take me to this add rule screen just here. First thing we need to do is we need to add a rule name. Now, I know this is going to sound really quite obvious, but please make sure that the name is really, really clear, because it's not just necessarily you using Fixflo. You might have colleagues where they just want to understand exactly what the rule means just from the name, rather than having to click into it to better understand it. So just make sure that the rule name isn't just obvious to you, but it's something that anybody could understand. So with this, for example, I'm going to explain locked out. So anybody who's locked out, Tuesdays, oh, let's remove that C. There we go. Tuesdays allocate to Reggie, just as an example. So I've said what the fault is, the day, and also who the issue will be automated to. And then you here have enabled. Now you can very easily disable rules as well. So I will show you that later. But for now, we're adding the rule. We want it to be enabled. And then what we're going to do is we're going to first of all start with setting up filters. And then we're going to go to add the actions. So the filters is you saying if X happens, okay? With the filters, you can get as granular as you like. So we're just going to go through what filters are available to you. So let's click here to add a new filter. And this kind of add filter pop-up will appear where you've got this drop down where, as you can see, you can add a number of different filters. So first of all, I'm going to go through what all of these mean, and then we're going to go and put a rule into action, and we are going to create one. So these filters. So the first one we have here is any. So this is obviously really, really broad. This is you saying if anything happens, you want to automate it. I think it's very broad, and I think it's better personally to go a bit granular, but that is of course up to you. So it is an option there to say anything at all. Next down here, we have covered by network. So again, guys, if any of you are using AXA and you already have it again configured into your account, as I mentioned before, unfortunately, you cannot configure it going forward. If you did want to assign jobs to AXA, you must 100% have covered by network filter set on, because otherwise you will not be able to use the action automate to AXA. Okay, so again, if you're using AXA, you must choose covered by network. Here we have a period. So this is you saying between X date and X date, you would like this rule to apply. Again, that is really fantastic for bank holidays. So the Easter bank holiday is coming up soon. If you wanted this rule just to cover that particular period, then you could use period, which means that after that period's gone, so that one-off period of time, that rule would no longer take effect. So you don't need to worry about enabling and disabling rules. It would simply stop taking effect after that period has gone. Fault. So this is getting really granular about what the actual fault is, and we will be using that one in just a moment, because for this example rule, I've said locked out. Here we've got fault priority. So on Fixflo, when an issue is reported, Fixflo will provide that fault with a priority ranging from 0, meaning emergency, all the way down to 5. So you might, for example, over the Easter period, want to say that only your fault priority is 0 and 1 you want to automate over because they're the highest priority. Here we have time. Now, unlike period, this is recurring periods of time. So this would be you saying every single weekend or every evening. Or with me, for example, on this example, we'll be saying every Tuesday, because that's when I want the issue to automate. Location. So you can be location specific as well. So this would be you adding postcodes, because obviously if you have a contractor in one location, you don't necessarily want to be sending them to another location altogether where they're never going to get there. So if you want to be location specific, of course you can be as well. Property. So you can be property specific. Obviously your properties are on Fixflo, and if you want certain properties to be automated to certain contractors, of course you can set that up as well. You've got your property tag. So you can tag properties now as well, and that allows you to, for example, have all of your properties within a certain location. If you tag them all, it allows you to create a list of those properties, which is brilliant for Copilot, because then rather than having a rule per property, instead you could just have that property tag. You've also here got landlords. So if you have, for example, a specific landlord that maybe doesn't want to use Copilot, we will go through that later as an example, and I'll show you how to do that. So you can be landlord specific. Raised by, so who raised the property? And to be honest, these two should only appear on, I believe, build to rent systems. So I do apologize. This has been raised with the development team to remove. Okay, perfect. So with my rule now, I'm going to add some filters first of all to kind of narrow down exactly what it is that gets automated. So we've got here locked out and on Tuesdays. So the first filter I'm going to set up, you've probably already guessed it, it's the fault, because I want only people that have been locked out for this to then be automated. So you can see a list of all of the fault categories here. And with this, you can either tick, for example, an entire section. So I could say doors, garages, and locks and tick that entire box. What that means is anything that gets reported within doors, garages, and locks will be automated if I save and set this up. Or you could remove that tick and open up doors and garages and locks here on the right-hand side and get really, really granular and say that you literally want it to be, if somebody reports that it's doors, garages, and locks, underneath locks and keys, and says that their key is lost. And I'm going to tick that box. So anybody that loses their key, whether it's the property can be accessed, cannot be accessed, or other, I want it to automate because they've lost their key. So I press OK, and you can see the filter now sits here as a fault type. To view it, of course, I need to click edit here to see the entire fault type there. Okay. And next here we have another filter. So I've not just put locked out. I could leave this now and then click here to add an action. And that would mean that anybody in any location, any day of the week, any period of time, it would automate. But I've specifically said here on Tuesdays. So the second filter that I'm going to add, you've probably guessed it already. It here is time. And I'm going to literally select all of Tuesday. Now, again, you can get granular on this instead, and you can add this hourly. So for example, if you wanted to do a specific out of hours, you could, of course, do, for example, evenings like this until 9 a.m. You could do all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and then you could do from like 6 o'clock as well. So that is something that you can do like that. So just to show you, that's something you might want to do if you wanted to do out of hours. But for this example, I'm literally going to just select Tuesdays like this, and then press OK. And I can see here that the time of day here is Tuesday. I can continue to add filters now if I wanted to, for example, be landlord specific or property specific, something like that, maybe even period specific. But for the time being, I'm going to go with this fault on a Tuesday because that's what my rule name says. And then I'm going to add an action. So we've done X, okay? So if X happens, if somebody reports that they are locked out on a Tuesday, we would like Y to happen, and Y is our action. So you click here to add an action. Just to let you know, you can add 2 actions per rule. So let's go through these. We have do nothing. I'm going to cover do nothing a little bit later in this webinar. Notify. So you could, for example, notify the landlord about an issue. So this would allow a notification to go directly out to the landlord to say this particular job has been created. It will not instruct the job to the landlord, but it would notify them. You could notify the occupier. Thank you for reporting this issue at the moment. You could talk about your opening hours. That's something you could do as well. Or perhaps give them a number to call. You could also notify yourself. For example, if an emergency issue came through, you could have any emergencies that come through, notify a certain agent over the Easter break so that they are aware of it. There's loads and loads you can do with this. I'm just trying to kind of come up with some examples of where you may want to use this. Also, with notifying a landlord, if landlords like being kept in the loop, it's almost like sending them an FYI. FYIs, as you guys probably know, don't automatically go out to landlords as the issue is created. If a certain landlord likes that FYI, you could set that up via Copilot to go automatically out rather than you manually having to do it each and every time. And then we've got the workflows here. So currently we have instruct works, which is to a contractor, and also request quotes. And again, that's obviously from contractors as well. With this example, we're going to go with instruct works, and I'm going to select my contractor now. So I'm going to select Reggie Pepper. You can add a works authorization limit if you want, and you must add an instruction note. So please resolve this job for example, and then press OK. Again, you can add up to 2 actions per job. So for example, you may want to instruct and also notify. So that could be 2 things that you do at one time. Once you are happy with everything, always double check it. Maybe get a colleague to double check it as well, because remember, what you're setting up here is automation. This is something that will automatically happen. You do kind of not have that control anymore. The control is within the filters itself. So just make sure you're fully happy with everything you've set up. And like I say, maybe run it by a colleague and press save. Once that rule is set up, if I now click here on Copilot, that's what you'll see here is the rule. I can see it's enabled here, but we'll go through that in a little bit. Now, I guess the question is, well, what happens if this rule gets, if this rule is triggered? So let's log out now and go in as an occupier. I'm an occupier and my name's Jamie and I have got locked out. It's a disaster. I need to go on Fixflo. I need to report this to my agent. It's a Tuesday. I have no idea it's going to get automated as an occupier, of course, but I'm on here now. And just to show you, occupiers also have this what is the issue search bar. So they could, for example, search here for like key lost, just to show you. Or alternatively, they could use these icons that you probably very much know. So if I'm the occupier now, I would click here on doors, garages and locks. I would go to locks and keys because it's my key. Oh, key lost. Here we go. Perfect. And I cannot access the property. It's a disaster. This is an example of a pop-up that goes out. And again, like I say, these are changeable as I showed you before. I'm going to continue on and I'm going to say key lost, please help. Okay. I'm going to go through. No need to add a photo. My address. Now, if again, you would put like location specific, landlord specific, property specific, anything like that, then this would be affected. But in this case, we've not been that granular. So the occupier could technically say anywhere. So I'm going to say I'm at Fixflo house. Next, contact details. So it's Jamie Hurst. Pop in my email address. Like that. And my telephone number. Hopefully someone will call me soon. Next. Nope, I haven't got COVID. I'm all good with those things. And I'm agreeing to the T's and C's. I'm all happy with that. So as the occupier now, they've reported the maintenance issue. Okay. And they have no idea about Copilot, of course. So what will happen is, just as usual, the occupier will, of course, receive an email to say that their job has now been reported. And that does, as you guys probably know, comply with section 21. So it provides them with an adequate response to say that the issue has been reported, and it provides them with an estimated time of when everything will get carried out. So that is compliant, which is brilliant. So they receive that email there. The actual issue now will automatically go straight to the contractor that we've asked it to. So if I log in now as the agent and I go to my issues and issue search here at the, bear with me 1 second. At the top here, okay, so this is the issue that's just been created. Key lost and property cannot be accessed. If I click on details, you can see here, this was raised today at 11:32. So you're probably happy with that, Jamie Hurst. You can see the issue status. It's not a reported issue. Actually, it's job awarded awaiting appointment date. So guys, when an issue is reported on Fixflo, the first thing that will happen is it will go to Copilot and say, has what's been reported, does it exactly match the rules that have been set up on Copilot? If so, it will automate and do its thing. And in this case, it has been automated straight onto the contractor. On next steps, we can clearly see that we're waiting for the contractor there. The contractor will receive an email at this time and also a push notification on their app if they've downloaded the app, and it tells them that they've been allocated a job. Again, they're not aware of Copilot. All they know is they've been allocated this job. And also the occupier will be kept in the loop as you do now have emails that go out to the contractor to the occupier, to let them know that this has now been sent on to a contractor. So they're probably very happy with that. You can also set up for an SMS to go out to them as well, and that is 4p per text. You just need to agree to the SMS T's and C's. Okay, guys, so I hope you're happy with that, and I hope that's kind of understood in terms of how that works. What I'm now going to show you is, well, what happens if you have a landlord that says to you, do you know what, I really love Fixflo, really not keen on this Copilot thing though, I don't want anything automated through. Well, that's where you can add the do nothing rule. So again, you would go to Copilot, click here on add rule, rule name. So again, you want to be really obvious here. So I'm going to add the name of the landlord. Like that, Michael Moonling, do nothing. I'm going to enable this rule and I'm going to add a filter here for landlord. I'm going to search for the landlord like this, add him. And that's all I need, because it's everything. As long as you've got your data set up correctly in Fixflo, where you've got the correct landlords associated with the correct properties, then that means that any issues that come through for this landlord, I want to add an action here to say do nothing. What this means is that no action will take place at all, and anything that comes in for the properties associated with Michael Moonling will not go through Copilot, and actually the issue will come through as a normal reported job. Okay, so I'm going to press no action there and then press save. Perfect. Now, one really important thing I want to talk about here, guys, is the order of your rules. Now, as I mentioned to you before, when an issue is reported on Fixflo, the issue will come into Copilot first, and it will see, have you got any rules? If you do have rules, it will go through these rules in the order that you've set them, saying, does exactly what's been reported match what has happened here on your rules on Copilot? If the answer is yes, like I say, it will automate, but it will go through these rules one by one. So if you have, for example, a landlord that you've got set do nothing for, what you will need to do is you will need to move the rule up to the top, so that if an issue comes through that somebody is locked out on a Tuesday, but the property relates to Michael Moonling's property, absolutely nothing will happen, because it will hit this rule first. If I leave this rule down here, then what that means is if somebody is locked out on a Tuesday and they sit at one of they live at one of Michael Moonling's properties, it will never hit this rule, because this rule, it will hit, it will be exactly matched, and it will automate, and that will upset Michael Moonling, who has asked for that not to happen. So you must make sure that your rule order is correct. A few final things I want to go through with you regarding Copilot. When adding rules, just to show you, if you were to add the rule period, what you're doing here, as I mentioned before, is you're saying from this date until this date, you want that rule to automate, okay? If you're doing that, the from date, say I want this to be over Easter. So we're off on Friday and we're back on the Tuesday. The to date is up to that date. It's not up to and including that date. So if, for example, I wanted this to go up to the Monday, if I wanted this to go up to Tuesday, the 19th, because we're off on the 15th, we're off on the 18th, can't wait. But if I wanted this to go up to the Tuesday, I would need to say up to the Tuesday. If I said up to the Monday, that would not include Monday the 18th. So that is something to please bear in mind. If you do hit the 18th, it will be up to everything and including the 17th, and it will hit until midnight on the 18th. If you want to include the Monday, you must do to the Tuesday. So that will then be the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and it will stop from the 19th. I hope that makes sense. Again, please use the Q&A if that doesn't quite make sense, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention here on Copilot as well, and I believe, guys, these are things we're going to tidy up. So we should be adding a little note here. I have raised this with the development team just to let you know, so it's really clear. Another thing to mention here is if you add property or landlords. Okay. Now, the thing to remember, as I've mentioned before, if an issue comes through and you've got Copilot rules set up on Fixflo, the issue will go through each rule and say, has exactly what's been reported, does it match exactly what you've got set up on Copilot? If you are adding filters for a property, you must add one filter per property. Now, the reason for that is, say, for example, I added 2 properties here on one rule. If you think about it, that rule becomes redundant. And the reason is, if an issue comes through and it's for Fixflo house and it hits this rule with this property, this rule has 2 properties, meaning that it will never match exactly, because you can only ever, obviously, raise an issue for one property at a time. So it will never match both properties. So you must make sure that if you have 3 properties you want to set a certain rule for, you must go into a Copilot and raise those 3 times and have 1 property per property filter. I hope that makes sense, because like I say, otherwise the rule becomes redundant, because it's never going to match it exactly if you have more than 1 property or more than 1 landlord there. So I hope that makes sense. Again, this is something I've raised with the development team, and we are going to be changing it. So you must make sure then that you have 2, 3, 4 rules for those 2, 3, 4 properties or landlords. If I go back onto Copilot here, you can see the hit count here. So there's 1 hit count for this Copilot rule we put through before. If you click here on that number 1, it will take you into the rule, and you can click here on history to see the issue. You can click into the issue here from the trigger. And just to show you, that will also show here in the audit tab. So it's really clear that this has actually been instructed based on the automation. So it's really, really clear that actually that's come from that rule, and you can click here to view the rule as well. If you make amendments to any rules, it's really easy to add a filter to say, for example, actually, I want this to be over a certain period. I don't know, like that. And then be like, I've just pressed OK. You must press save. If you do not press save and you go back to Copilot, of course, that rule has not now saved with that additional filter. You have to press save. Again, I know that sounds really, really simple, but I've even done it before, where I've gone in, changed a rule for someone. Because you pressing OK here on the filter, you forget to press save. So it sounds really obvious, but it's one thing to just bear in mind. So you can see the hit count. You can copy over rules. So for example, if you're going to set up 4 or 5 rules for different properties, just copy the rule. And then you've got all the filters set up. You've got the automation set up with the instruction notes, etc. Just change the property and obviously the title. You can view the history here as well, and you can delete the rule. I would say if you know you're going to use the rule again, maybe don't delete it, just disable it. And then it will no longer be working. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. You can add as many rules as you like, but as you can imagine, if you've got loads and loads of rules on here, having the name really obvious would make sense, rather than just having rule 1, rule 2, rule 3. Somebody else that comes in won't know what that really means. Of course, you've got the filter shown here, but it just makes sense to have a really clear name. Guys, I hope that makes sense. And I hope this is something that you can see how you can set it up. I hope I've kind of given enough examples of where you may want to use things. Have a play around with it. Like I say, get your colleagues to check things as well, because sometimes 2 pairs of eyes really does make a big difference. And I know it's a few weeks away now, but really enjoy your break over Easter. Obviously, it's been quite a difficult couple of years for everyone, I think. I've just launched a quick feedback poll as well, guys. A question has come in, but if you are leaving us now, then thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope it's been insightful, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week and enjoy the nicer weather we have been having, and that you're looking forward to your lovely Easter break. I'm going to go through the questions now. One has come in. If you're leaving us now, thank you so much and goodbye. I will be sending you a recording by the end of play today. And I'll be in touch with everybody who wants to sign up to Fixflo Academy as well. So the question that's come in is from Corey. Hi, Corey. What about scenarios where one rule might conflict with another rule? So it might be obvious which rule to put as number one. So I'm struggling to think of a scenario where rules might conflict. Do you have any examples, Corey? Alternatively, I'd be really happy to have a quick chat with you. I am relatively free this afternoon, I believe. So we could always take this outside of the webinar if there's something specific to you. But I'm struggling to think of where the rules may conflict. If you have any examples, please let me know. But yes, like I say, also happy to take this one offline. Okay, yeah, Corey, let's speak later. I would love to go through that with you. Excellent, guys. No other questions have come through. So yeah, I'm going to be logging off in a few minutes. I will stay here just in case any further questions come through. But like I say, thanks again for joining me this morning. And I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar as much as I have. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.